Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My brother lives at my mom's house in the same bedroom he lived in high school.
He's 45 years old.
His family claims he's lazy.
You came out of retirement instead of him working.
And a mooch.
You'll let him use your car.
Yeah, he actually wrecked it.
But he says he has a plan.
I'm going to go work at a dispensary.
A marijuana dispensary?
Yes.
So you're going to wait for Missouri to change their laws. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Thank you. Well, thank you. Okay, now, if you are a parent to a teenager, then you are probably far too familiar with this scene. The disgusting pigsty of a bedroom. I'm not sure a pig would want to be in that bedroom. And despite asking them over and over to clean their room, to do their laundry, it all falls on deaf ears. Oh, and instead of doing homework, maybe your teen stays up all night playing video games, right? Or texting, or worse, sneaks out to party with friends. Well, today's guest is exactly like that, except for one minor detail. He's 45 years old. This bedroom belongs to him. In fact, it is actually his childhood bedroom in his mother's house. Oh no, there's more. Jeff has 3 children of his own. And according to Jeff's sister, Monica, their 65-year-old mother was forced to come out of retirement to take care of him and raise his family because he can't seem to get going. Take a look.
My 45-year-old brother lives the life of a bratty 16-year-old teenager. My brother lives at home at my mom's house in the same bedroom that he lived in high school. It looks exactly the same. The dresser still has everything on it.
I've had all this since I was in high school in my room.
He has the same photos on the wall that my mom decorated his room with when we were in high school. He's dressing the way that he did 20 years ago.
Pretty much normally what I wear.
Whatever he wears, it's just what mom has bought for him. Jeff is the epitome of a 45-year-old loser. Jeff is lazy, he's not motivated, and he's a moocher. Jeff takes advantage of my mom. She lets him do whatever he wants. He comes and goes. He doesn't have to do anything. She allows him to walk all over her. She lets him talk back to her. I know that she is afraid to say things to him. She's a prisoner in her own house. She still makes his meals, cooks, cleans, drives him everywhere, just like when we were kids. The jobs he's had lately have been at a gas station, working at a fast food restaurant, and now working at a pizza place. These are jobs that you would expect of a 17-year-old kid, not a 45-year-old man. When Jeff is at home, he's usually in his room watching TV, playing video games or on his phone, or he's with his friends, like a teenager. Jeff needs to get his life together. He needs to move out of mom's house. Jeff needs a serious wake-up call.
Okay, what's going on here?
That was pretty hard to hear.
Yeah, I would think it's hard to live with. Be around, watch happen. I mean, what has your brother always been so flat, unmotivated, unable to get in gear?
Oh, yeah, pretty much. I mean, he hasn't really, it's gotten worse since he moved back in 16 years ago into my mom's house.
That's a long time for somebody to not say, hey, wait a minute, you're a grown man, you're educated,
Yeah.
you have a skill. He's an aircraft mechanic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this guy can make serious money.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Obviously. I mean, that's a very sophisticated trade, and he's got 2 certifications in aircraft mechanics, right?
Mm-hmm.
One point, he was certainly motivated.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I never really thought about it like that. He's lazy. He doesn't want to do anything.
Well, do you know what he tells everybody? He tells everybody he moved back in to help his mother.
No. Yeah.
Well, that's
No,
what he
does not.
says.
Yeah, he did not move back in to help my mom. No. If she would be, she'd have a lot more time and be able to relax a lot more if he wasn't there.
Yeah. But he doesn't lift a finger when he's there. He doesn't clean his own room. He doesn't help around there. He has 2 children that are living there with him, right?
2 of his kids are still at home, yes.
Right. And he doesn't go to their ball games. He doesn't go to their parent-teacher conferences.
No.
He doesn't do anything.
No. No.
What's his excuse for that?
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go to any of their stuff. I mean, Mom's always done it, so he just lets her do it.
His daughter, Tori,
Yes.
says that he is a terrible father and an angry, immature, emotionally unavailable coward. Now, those are her words. She cut him off 2 weeks ago and says she's done. If he doesn't change, she said, enough's enough, too much is too much, and she is at that threshold. Take a look.
My dad has been living with my grandmother, and he has been mooching off of her the entire time. Jeff moved me and my brothers into my grandmother's house 16 years ago. After my parents divorced, I refer to my dad as Jeff to other people because he was never the father figure to me. He was more of an older brother. Jeff acts like he's in high school. He does nothing but smoke weed and dress like a teenager with, ruined pants, flannels, beanies every single day. He can't get a meaningful job, and he's almost 50. Jeff expects everything to be handed to him in life. Every time I have tried to spend time with Jeff, it seems that he always is asking me for money or a ride or to borrow my vehicle. At one point, my dad was working at a fast food restaurant as a regular crew member, and I was hired on as management, which seemed to upset him. Very shortly after I was hired, he quit. I feel so terrible for my grandma because she had to come out of retirement just to support us, and to see my dad not even try to get a meaningful job, but to continually just take while she is working herself to death is ludicrous.
I think video games are a good stress relief for me.
I am fed up with my father's behavior. There is no excuse for it. He's a grown man. He can't be my grandma's little baby son anymore. If my dad doesn't change, then we're done.
Okay, you're fed up, right?
Absolutely.
What's pushed you over the edge?
I'm just tired of him constantly, no matter what I'm going through. I went through a really rough breakup recently and tried to confide in him. I just lost my home and I lost everything that I have. And his response was, you can come stay on my couch if I can use your car tomorrow. And that was his response to me telling him I had nowhere to live.
I'll let you sleep on my couch. I didn't know he had one, but...
He clearly doesn't.
So at this point, he's stuck.
He is. He's got nowhere to go. He doesn't have experience in the past decade in his field. He's got no, meaningful relationships with friends that can actually help him build a reputation and move forward. And he can't even treat his kids with respect, so how are we supposed to help him and be around him?
Yeah. And he worked for you for a while.
Yeah.
Didn't like that.
Yeah. We were both hired at the same fast food restaurant. He was hired first, and then myself a month later. I was hired immediately into management. We started working together, and he got angry because he couldn't boss me around at work. And he would raise his voice at other employees or myself, and I would tell him, okay, you got to knock that off. Like, go outside, take a break, and when you come back inside, you better be ready to work, or you can just go home, and I'll do your job for you. And he just ended up quitting because he didn't like me being in charge of him, I guess.
You said you didn't think that things were that bad until you got a call from Dr. Phil.
I honestly didn't realize how bad they were.
But we're talking about 16 years. That's 4 presidents.
Tomorrow, he rushed into a burning house to rescue his daughter.
He's my hero. He saved my life.
But her scars
Her body was covered with third-degree burns.
are not just physical.
Do you self-medicate?
With alcohol, yeah. I get blackout drunk. I think I'm dependent on my dad.
I have not been able to say no.
She can't pay a bill on time. She sleeps all day. She's irresponsible because you make that possible.
That's tomorrow Then, on Friday, she hates the sounds her fiancé makes.
Munching, crunching, chewing. And the pigs make the same noises.
No, different noises. Their jaws don't crack.
That's Friday.
My mom is an enabler. She has enabled Jeff to continue this lifestyle. She'll do anything for anybody.
She hasn't stood up for herself or tried to put him on a better path. Instead, she just gives him whatever he asks for.
Jeff's never paid rent. She makes sure he has clothes and shoes and toiletries.
She bought him a car, pays his insurance, pays his phone bill. I think my grandma's really scared to lose my dad.
Well, Janet says her 45-year-old son, Jeff, moved back into his childhood bedroom 16 years ago and has never left. She admits she does just about everything for Jeff because she is incapable of standing up to him and apparently just does not have the word no in her vocabulary. Take a look.
I enable my son because I do not like controversy. Jeff is definitely lazy.
I just sit in here and watch TV.
I've been the one raising my grandsons. Within the last 16 years, I have spent over $100,000 on Jeff and his kids. I believe that he's reverted back to being a high schooler. Jeff didn't have any responsibilities back then. Just take care of himself. For the most part, he was footloose and fancy-free. He can go, stay out all night, go wherever he wants on the weekends because Mom will take care of the kids. His top priority is hanging out with his friends instead of with his kids.
Jeff just left. Said he would be back, never said where he's going.
I am still working because I have to support Jeff and his sons. I would love to retire if I wasn't supporting them. It's unfair. I've tried to kick Jeff out of the house, but then I let him stay. I always say yes.
Well, you've been listening to everything so far, right?
Yeah.
The hell are you thinking?
Well, it wasn't so bad at the beginning.
First 4 or 5 years?
It wasn't so bad when he was screaming at us every day and couldn't even, like, go a whole day without yelling at y'all. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. I'm sorry to, like, be so blunt about it, but that is ridiculous.
And you say you would love to retire.
Yes.
And you know that because you've done it before. But then you came out of retirement to start working for him and his children instead of him working.
Right, yeah.
You think you're an enabler?
Oh, I know I am.
Because, you know, I made a list. You came out of retirement, and so you work full time. Jeff and sons live rent-free. You pay all Jeff's bills. You buy all the clothes, food, and a couple of cars. You cook all the meals, clean, does laundry. $100,000. He buys weed with the money that you give him. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You raise the sons. I mean, football, clubs, doctors, parent-teacher conference. You do all that, right? He's too busy?
Yeah, I guess. He just doesn't want to do it.
You buy all the Christmas and birthday presents, and then you sign his name to them.
I do that so they wouldn't.
They knew. We all knew.
Yeah, it was not a secret, ever. He admitted it to me. Like, he didn't even have any shame in it. It was, oh, yeah, Grandma went and bought you something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but she said it's, you know...
What did I get you for Christmas
an electronic thing. Or he'll be like, I'm going to be just as surprised as you are when you open that up in the morning.
Do you agree that this needs to change?
I agree, yeah.
For you and for him?
Yes.
Because you agree this isn't helping him.
No.
You know, enabling, that's a word that gets used so much that it's lost its meaning. But it really boils down to the fact that you're making it possible for him to do what he's doing.
Right.
Which is crippling for him.
Yeah.
You're making it possible for him to be lazy, to be unmotivated, and you know that's like tripping him up when he's trying to walk. Let's meet Jeff. We're going to take a break. Jeff says after his dreams of a perfect marriage and family failed, he completely just gave up on life. I didn't know that was an option. He says he now spends the majority of his time locked in his bedroom playing video games and expects his mom to take care of him. Didn't know that was an option. We're going to meet him after the break.
This is where I was in high school. I've been in this room off and on for 20 years. I do not have a car at this moment. I just stay in my room and do nothing.
I let Jeff borrow my car for a couple of days. I was out of town celebrating my birthday, my 21st birthday. Jeff told me that he wrecked my vehicle hitting a deer, and I had to clean the car out myself after he left it stinking of weed. He originally agreed to pay for the deductible and any damages. I never saw a penny from him directly. My grandmother gave me some money and said that he was going to pay her back, and I don't know if he did or not.
Jeff says he's had no choice but to move back into his high school bedroom at his mom's house when his marriage and career completely fell apart. It was 16 years ago. And I guess during that 16 years, he's never had an opportunity to turn things around. He admits that during that time, he's just completely given up.
This is my bedroom. This is where I was in high school. I've been in this room off and on for 20 years. It's pretty much the way it was when I was in high school. I do feel like a high school kid again in a way. I'm in the same place I was back in high school. I don't like living at home. I really don't. I can't move out because I don't want to leave my kids here. I haven't been able to get back on my feet. I've tried and it just didn't work out for me. I do not have a car at this moment. I do, but they're broke down in the driveway. This car's been here about a year. It has a blown engine, and I haven't had the cash to get a new one. I'd prefer to hang out in my room, but it's driving me crazy staying here. I just stay in my room and do nothing. Watch TV. I've played video games on occasion. Now I try to go out at least once or twice a week, and, you know, I go hang out with my friends. Every now and then I'll smoke a joint. My mother used to nag me about getting a job all the time, but now that I have one, it's every few often you need to get a better job. She's not happy no matter what I do, it seems like. My mother nags about helping around the house. I feel stuck in my life. This is not what I pictured when I graduated high school. I'm tired of living here. I don't want to live here, and I'm just ready to move out.
Okay, so Jeff, you're an aircraft mechanic by training.
Yes, I was.
And what'd you work on?
B-52s.
B-52s?
Yes.
Complex airplanes.
Yeah, they are pretty complex. I mean, many different flight systems, but yeah.
Right. And so you have two certifications? Mm-hmm. What are they?
I have an electronic service certification, and I have a mechanics one for aircraft school.
Electronics certification for aircraft? Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on that. That's, I've been a pilot since I was a teenager, and I've flown everything from a Piper Tri-Pacer to a Gulfstream. Those are very complex systems that require redundancy and highly sophisticated maintenance, because if something goes wrong, you can't like pull over and get out.
Right, right.
So that's, you must be really proud of that.
Yeah, I was for a long time.
Yeah. When was the last time you used that skill?
Probably 20 years ago.
Reckon why you're not doing that?
I failed the drug test. So I can't do that now.
Yeah, so you got to be drug-free. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which if you're drug-free, then you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would want you to be drug-free if you were working on my airplane.
Yeah, of course.
But you have the skill set, and that's not easy to learn, so you're obviously intelligent.
He's wicked smart. He just refuses to apply himself.
Yeah. You said you didn't think that things were that bad until you got a call from Dr. Phil.
I honestly didn't realize how bad they were.
I could get that if we were talking about 16 weeks or even 16 months.
Right.
But we're talking about 16 years. That's 4 presidents.
Your youngest son has never known anything other than your mom's house, ever.
Yeah, that is true.
How did that happen?
You know, me and my ex were together for 7 years. We having troubles the last 3, so we decided to get married, and that made it worse. So we had to get a divorce, and I couldn't afford where I was living at the time, so I had to talk to my father, and he allowed me to move in.
Do you think he had any idea you were going to be there for going on 2 decades?
No, he didn't.
Did you plan to be there for 2 decades?
No, I only planned on being there for a couple of years.
A couple of years?
Well, I was way in debt.
It's always somebody else's fault. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, hell, take bankruptcy, hit the reset button and start over, but you don't live with your mother when you're 45. Are you going to live there till you're 65? I mean, what's your plan?
I was waiting on to Missouri to change their laws, and I'm going to go work at a dispensary. We've discussed it many, many times.
While you were high? Let's talk about how you're living with your mother, because this is pretty much a regression to high school behavior, okay? Because I've talked to the rest of your family. You're the branch. I've talked to the tree.
Right.
The tree says you have 2 outfits that your mom bought you, 0 hygiene, no doctors, no dentist. You sneak out of the house for days at a time, just disappear. Your kids are still there for your mom to take care of. You sneak out of the house. When you're there, you just drink Mountain Dew all day and play video games.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up.
Your bedroom's a disaster. You smoke weed and video games. You watch cartoons, Pokemon. No car, you bum rides. And you reminisce about girls you slept with back in high school. And high school level jobs, if any. So you're really functioning pretty much below your capacity, below your level, right?
I totally agree with you.
Tell me why.
Well, after my divorce, I had a real hard time dealing with it.
Well, that was 16 years ago.
Right, right. I went back to school, and I was about ready to graduate. I had a job interview in Seattle and another one in Galveston. And after I went and did those, came back home, my mom and Aunt Linda sat me down and said that if I do get a job out of town, they wouldn't let me take the kids with me.
Mm-hmm. That's not true. I told you you can go and get established first, get you a house, check the schools out, and then you could take the kids.
That's not what you and Aunt Linda said. You said you would not.
That's not what if they did say what you're saying, you're the dad. She doesn't have any legal right. If you wanted to take your kids, even though it wouldn't be the best thing for me.
You know I didn't have the money to fight Mom and Aunt Linda for custody.
You think Grandma has money to pay for lawyers to fight you over it regardless?
If you wanted to move away, you could move away.
I would have had to fight them. You know that.
Well, she would never fight you. That's the whole problem. She would never let it get to that. She would have just let it go.
Are you going to live there till you're 65? I mean, what's your plan? Seriously, do you have a plan?
I do have a plan.
And what is it?
I was waiting on to Missouri to change their laws, and I'm going to go work with my friend at a dispensary, and I'll move out.
At a dispensary? Mm-hmm. What kind of marijuana dispensary?
Yes.
So you're going to wait for Missouri to change their laws, because we know...
Well, they've already changed the law. They just have to give us the guidelines so we can open the store. We're just waiting on the guidelines. We've discussed it many, many times.
While you were high?
Well, we were high afterwards.
Because seriously, I'm just being honest. If he's hiring you, I'm wondering who he's turning down, because you haven't had a job in 16 years of anything other than fast food, and you're living with your mother, and you're not exactly a fireball. I think it's time to grow up, and sometimes you have to behave your way to success. And boy, do I have just the person to help him after the break. Oh, do I have the person. We'll be right back. Well, Jeff's sister Monica wrote in desperate for my help, and that's interesting to me that Janet didn't write in. Janet's the one that's getting hammered here. She's the one that's got the laboring oar. She's the one raising the children, paying the bills, cleaning up after him, taking care of all the responsibilities, but she didn't ask for help. I have the perfect man to help Jeff become his best self. Now, Mike Baer is a very dear friend of mine, and he's a life coach and the CEO of Cast Centers. He's experienced, he's loved by his clients. They include many A-list celebrities who you would think, why would they need somebody to jack their lives up? But they do. They get stuck sometimes as well. Coach Mike focuses on helping his clients break free of destructive patterns that aren't yielding results that they want. And he has a New York Times best-selling book that is called Best Self, Be You Only Better. And when we talk about life coaching, there's an important distinction here, right, Mike? Because when life's not working out and things aren't going well, you can go down one path, which is kind of the medical model, where you say, this is psychiatric, or this is mental illness, and it might require medication, therapy, hospitalization, or whatever. Or there's another path you can go down, which you just say is dysfunctional behavior, and you need to behave your way out of it. That's where we find you, is on this behavioral path, correct?
That's correct. I mean, first things first, let's kind of change our posture. Just sit up. I want to know from you, why would we take you on as a client? To help you improve your life, why would we take you on?
Because I want to change my life. I don't want to be where I'm at right now. I just don't know how to do it.
And you're willing to go to any length to do it?
Whatever I need to do.
I mean, seriously, you want out of this, right?
Yeah.
Well, you don't like this.
No, I don't like it at all.
I mean, there's no way you like this. You're not a good role model for your children. You have to feel guilty for burdening your mother the way that you are. And your life's not working. I mean, he's given us some excuses here for stuck life. According to Jeff, he divorced and got fired from his job, so he lost momentum there. He says his mother treats him like a child. That's mutually defined. It says he can't move and can't find a job. He says mom stopped him from his dream job in Seattle. He's not interested in any of the jobs in his area. It's too cold. Jobs here use old, dirty grease. According to Tori and Monica and Janet, he blames Janet for not giving him money for a third aviation degree. He won't go to therapy because they're afraid they're going to tell him it's his fault. He believes his family's out to get him, and his father was tough on him and didn't teach him how to be a dad.
The whole description I see right here is what I say with clients. We call it the wham-bulance, that you're waiting to pick you up, right? It's not coming, or it's here now.
So let's talk about inertia, because that's what we're dealing with here, right? I mean, it's just a lack of movement or activity, and it's a property of matter by which it remains at rest unless acted upon by some external force. Right. Meet external force. Okay? And so we've got to overcome this. Something's got to shake you out of this, and that's what you're intending to do, right?
Well, we would start 7 a.m., you're out of the house. 6 p.m., you're home. Mom's going to lock the door. He's not allowed home. Your video game system's getting turned in. Your TV's getting turned in. You're saying you're willing to go to any lengths, right? So sometimes we have to make a huge, drastic change in our lives.
It's all on me, I know.
Winners do things losers don't want to do. It's just that simple. Winners do things losers don't want to do. They get up in the morning, they go out and do things that losers don't want to do. Losers want to lay around in bed. Winners get up and go do something. It's time to start behaving like a winner. If you want to be a winner, behave like a winner. It's not fake it till you make it. It's behave your way to success. We got to take a break. Next, Tori says her dad has major anger issues and is constantly yelling and screaming at her younger brothers. She says it's gotten so bad that she had to call Department of Child and Family Services on her own father. We're going to talk about that after the break, and I have a good sneaking suspicion about why that anger is there. We'll be right back.
My brother is not a good dad.
You want to say something? Spit it out.
My mom takes the kids to any of their activities, school, sports, Boy Scouts. Jeff and Tori's relationship is toxic. If they do talk, it's arguing and fighting. It's not a normal father-daughter relationship.
My whole life, he made me feel like I wasn't good enough for him. My dad's relationship with my younger brothers is incredibly strained. Tyler and Cody are scared of my dad. Both of them, on separate occasions, have told me that they think he hates them and that they hate him too.
Well, Tori says even though her dad lives in the same house for the past 16 years, he just ignores his children. He's refused to be part of their lives. His mother takes over that role. You're going to break this into categories, right? You're setting up goals in different categories.
We are. You have not been showing up as a dad.
I know that.
And you're going to start showing up as a dad. And what does that look like to you?
Just doing more things with my kids, you know, being a part of their life.
What type of dad are you looking for?
I'm looking for someone that's supportive, that actually wants to listen when I've got something going on. Somebody that cares about what I did that day, you know? Doesn't have to be something spectacular, but I'd like you to at least check in and say, hey, how was your day? How have you been doing? Without, by the end of the conversation, you asking me to come pick you up or to give you money or let you borrow my vehicle. Because I just feel like all you want to do when you interact with me is take. And instead of being genuinely interested, you just want something from me. Every single time you want something from me. It can never go from, hey, I'm so glad you had a good day, let's talk tomorrow. It's, oh, hey, that sounds cool. Well, my friend's got weed out, you know, a couple streets over from you. You want to come pick me up and take me out there? I'll find my own ride home.
I know I'm not a good dad. And I want to be.
But why not? You've had every opportunity because you haven't been working, so you've had time to be really so hands-on. You could have coached their teams. You could have been at their schools. You could have been so involved as a father because of the time you've had, but instead you've totally unplugged. Why?
I don't know. I guess I just got depressed. I don't know what else it could have been. I just checked out, and I don't know why.
We know in order for this to change, we have to get rid of, right?
Me?
And as long as you're still doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
you know, there's only two things that motivate people to change: pain and consequences. Consequences if they don't change, and emotional pain or physical pain. And what I want to do for you is also help you in this. I want to get you a coach. I want someone to focus working on with you daily, because unless you change, Jeff's going to have a really hard time changing.
Really is.
Yeah, you two have become a unit, and it's a very dysfunctional unit. And we're going to talk about what that new unit needs to look like right after the break. Okay, Coach Mike is with us, and we're back with Monica, who wrote in. Jeff is here with his mother, Janet, and his daughter, Tori. And, you know, Mike, here's what I'm looking for out of you and your coaching team. Mm-hmm. I want to start out with a to-do list for each of them and a not-do list for each of them. There are some behaviors that need to be eliminated. And there are some new behaviors that need to be introduced. New behaviors like getting up, getting a shower, getting dressed, getting out of the house, getting on a bus, riding down to wherever is the target for that day, looking for jobs, going to the airport, doing whatever is necessary to make sure all certifications are current, doing whatever he has to do. Those are some of the things on the to-do list. And then the activities of daily living that you were talking about, the to-do list needs to include things like cleaning up the environment, cleaning up that room, cleaning up his relationship with the children, being honest with them. If it involves getting involved with a therapist, I'll be happy to provide that. There are a lot of things on the to-do list. And then the don't-do list are just as important, because you've gotten to the point that you've actually become abusive with your children. You yell at them. You've been anything but patient with your sons, correct? That anger boils out with them.
Right.
They didn't do anything to deserve that. That has to stop. Yeah. And then the same thing is true with you. You have to come up with a new set of rules to live by here.
Right.
And this is going to set you free.
Hopefully.
I mean, seriously, you have to decide that you're not helping him. You may think that you're doing this to help him, but you're not. Okay. You're doing this to make yourself feel better. Because at least you say, well, I don't want him on the street. I can't have my grandchildren on the street. So you're doing this to make yourself feel better. And you're doing it at the expense of him, because necessity is the mother of invention, and he has no need to change because of what you're doing. Okay. Take that soft place to fall away from him, and he will do better. Give yourself a break. This stuff about he lives in your house and won't even clean up after himself, are you kidding me? Change the locks on the house.
I often find it's harder for someone like you to change than your son to change.
This is what you mean when you say best self. He's not being his best self. She's not being her best self. And that's what you're talking about. And you're going to assign a coach to her.
I am.
And a coach to him.
Both.
You're going to oversee them both. They're going to interact with each other, these two coaches.
Correct.
And we're going to behave our way to success with a plan set against a timeline. And you're going to check in and make sure what's going on here.
Oh, we're going to be all over you. Both of you.
Okay, fair enough?
Yeah. Also, one more requirement that for us to work with you is there'll be drug testing at the house, and he can't smoke marijuana. You can smoke marijuana when you leave, but not at Mom's house. You look a little concerned.
I'm not concerned.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I want to thank my guests today. A special thanks to Coach Mike Baer and Cass Sinners for providing these coaches that are going to get directly involved. His New York Times best-selling book is Best Self, Be You Only Better. And guess what? The entire audience is going home with their own copy. This is a really good book, and I promise you, you will, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to read the book, and then you're going to give it to somebody else that you love to read, because this is a very down-to-earth, action-oriented book. I particularly like the foreword in this book. Before I say goodbye, I want to remind you to subscribe to my podcast. It's called Fill in the Blanks. That's P-H-I-L in the blanks. You can get it anywhere you can find podcasts. I get a chance to talk to people that I find really interesting in a fun and entertaining way. It's completely different than what you see here on the show, and I think it's going to give us a chance to share some time together in a really different way that's going to be both entertaining and informative. This is free, so all you got to do is push the subscribe button. You can listen to it audio when you're driving, walking, hanging out of the house. Not you. Whatever. And you can find more information about my podcast at fillintheblanks.com. Also, I have a new podcast series, Analysis of Murder by Dr. Phil. And the first installment is called The Killer Thorn of Gypsy Rose. Don't forget, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you next time.